Alright, you little gremlins and angels, you asked for it, you got it. Love Lies Bleeding, the muscle mommy movie that stormed the nation. Well, at least my nation. I'm deeply upset that my official shirts haven't shown up and they've just said that they're gonna release like the Crater Gym merch, but it's fine. The Bella Swan shirt will do. So I have actually talked about this movie a couple times, so if you want some like 100% no spoiler thoughts, you can check out my festival coverage linked below. But Love Lies Bleeding is a gritty, pulpy, erotic revenge thriller with a messed up love story at its core, and I think it's a blast. And I was so damn excited for this one. I showed up hours in advance so I could be the first one in line for the premiere of the movie at Sundance. I wore a blazer and I am so happy it didn't disappoint. Starring Kristen Stewart and Katy O'Brian, directed by Rose Glass, Love Lies Bleeding follows Lou, a gym manager who gets swept up in a traveling bodybuilder named Jackie. And as the relationship builds, the two end up plunged into violence and the town's criminal underbelly run by Lou's own father. And this is literally the most accurate depiction of U-hauling I've ever seen on screen, and that's the word of the day, friends, U-hauling. We got a cat here and everything, and don't worry, nothing happens to the cat. It is literally better at handling its cat than Argyle is. The movie's set in 1989 and it truly feels like it belongs in that area. It's just this gritty, small New Mexico town loaded with meth, corruption, and a fair amount of steroid use. And the whole thing is, again, as my friend Art put it, disgustingly sexy. Some of you guys are being real weird about this one though, you know, mainly some dudes. Someone was arrested for passing out knob in hand at the theater. Not cool. But I love so much about this movie. The aesthetic, just the full commitment to an image and a style. There's this really cool use of the color red when it comes to Lou's mental view of her father, and how they find ways to reflect that in reality, like having this Coke machine illuminating their faces. It also doesn't shy away from the grotesque. Like, it is not putting on a veneer of grime, it is grimy. We got clogged toilets, popping veins, greasy mullets, Ed Harris eating a bug. Kinda shocked that people got off at so many parts of this movie. And it really just gets in gritty with this idea of addiction and the destructive nature of love and how that parallels the steroid use in the movie. How abuse and violence is so often cyclical even if you so badly want to believe that you're different. I think the performances in this movie are fantastic. I've mentioned it so many times, but there's these like little reactions that Kristen Stewart gives that feel so authentically her, and they're so funny. Katy O'Brian just dominates the role of Jackie, full-on commitment to the training routine, the character, the intensity, and I found this Twitter post that makes it seem like it might be the reason why she got hired. If so, that rocks. I realized she was already working, but still cool. This is definitely like a breakout role for her. And everyone else is really great in this too. Like, I'm always happy to see Jena Malone, Ed Harris is fantastic, and Dave Franco is such a despisable little man in this, and I got to see him get roasted in the flesh for it.
We talked about, like, okay, yes, this guy is terrible, but like, why is he like that? You know, what happened to him in his childhood? He probably experienced his own violence, and now... Shut the fuck up!
All good fun, but yeah, no one really cares how you developed the wife-beater character. For all the violence and the blood that certainly lies bleeding. Sorry, this movie is largely about, as Stewart put it, the question of whether or not love destroys or does it build us into the best we can be. And I think this movie somehow manages to strike it in this twisted middle. We're definitely leaning more on the destructive, but still, it's more like they're unified together as a destructive force. But ultimately, it is just a damn solid thriller. You get swept up in the obsession these two people develop for each other, each step escalating more and more as Jackie grows more and more, keeping you right on the edge of your seat. But movies and shows aren't the only place to get your thrills, and that's why today's sponsor Audible is providing Adrenaline on Demand with their must-hear collection of the best mystery and thrillers available. Whether it's genre staples like Gillian Flynn or a newer release like Bright Young Women, Audible has the titles to keep you on the edge of your seat. I personally just stumbled on the Audible original 1984, a dramatization of the classic tale as an immersive listening experience starring Andrew Garfield, Cynthia Erivo, Andrew Scott, and Tom Hardy.
The crime I'm about to commit is the only way to communicate with you.
And it was completely free with my membership. But if you're just looking for classic Orwell, Audible has that too. And you can try it out for yourself completely free. Audible members get a credit to use on any title they want to keep for life every month, and unlimited access to a selection of included audiobooks, Audible originals, and podcasts. So visit audible.com/Jedi or text Jedi to 500 to start your free trial today. So let's dive into the movie, starting with low spoilers before we get into it and talk about that wild ending that so many people have different thoughts about. As mentioned, there are no attempts to glam up this movie. We literally start with Kristen Stewart fisting out a clogged toilet as local meth enthusiast Daisy starts to lay on the charm. Like, maybe wait till she cleans the shit off her hands, girl.
You gotta remember your own needs too.
You shouldn't have on me tonight.
You don't have to do that. It's fine. Have fun.
Clearly there is no interest here on Lou's end, and she's just kind of this weak, smoking, drawn in on herself gym manager, listening to quitting smoking tapes while still smoking. No real conviction or drive for reasons that we'll get to. It's not until Jackie comes through town as this total opposite of Lou that sparks her to life. Unfortunately, we are introduced to Jackie hooking up with Dave Franco to get a job, but the second Lou sees Jackie, ooh, definitely into the muscle mommies. Lou's life is pretty bored and stagnant. She's only really stuck around town so long to try to protect her sister, played by the fantastic Jena Malone, who is frequently abused by her husband, Dave fucking Franco, that cheating son bitch. The audacity to cheat when you have hair like that. And he's kind of this unavoidable thing because Beth won't leave him, and he also works for Lou's dad, who's the owner of the local gun range that Jackie ends up getting a job at, but also the leader of a massive criminal underbelly running in the town with full cooperation of the police. And he is played by Ed Harris in full skullet glory, which he apparently picked out for himself.
You mind if I do one of those little ponytail things? She said, yeah, sure, you don't have to be little. I said, okay, well, so then I got these extensions to put in. And I figured I'd just show up on a set and let her, she'll tell me how long she wants to be. She said, that's fine.
And seeing as Jackie is
Jack to the tits!
she obviously finds her way to the local gym, which is how she and Lou meet. Again, coming in strong, total free spirit, the complete opposite of what Lou is. But as I mentioned, their love is not going to be the only focus of this movie. We start getting like this little trickle of information that the FBI is sniffing around for information on Lou's dad, asking about her missing mom, which makes her quite cagey. She hates her dad and doesn't talk to him, but apparently he owns this gym, so she's never fully out from under his thumb. But she doesn't even want to fill Jackie in on the full scope of why her dad's a piece of shit, and Jackie's certainly dealing with her own demons. So many little things that run the risk of just completely derailing them. Now, I mentioned it in my spoiler-free review, but it is just so fun to have a movie with gay characters that doesn't feel like that's really the focus or like the main aspect. Like, yeah, it comes up and Lou has some concerns that she might be getting played for a place to stay, but it is not the focus. This being a small Southwest drug town in 1989, there's obviously a lot of homophobia to go around. It's not ignoring the realities of the situation, it's just not its primary focus. It is be gay, do crime, the strength edition. And speaking of Jackie's demons, it really doesn't take long for her temper to pop off. This dude tries to grab her away for a drink and she just instantly pops him in the face. Obviously nothing wrong with defending yourself from someone laying hands on you, keep your grubby mitts away, sir. But it's a glimpse into how impulsive she'll be throughout this movie. Lou's not concerned though. She finds out that Jackie's been hitchhiking her way to Vegas for a bodybuilding competition, so Lou introduces her to the world of steroids. It's honestly the first time I've seen something that has peer pressure for performance enhancing drugs, like at least presented in a way that it would be like it was a traditional drug, you know, doing it for the thrill, and it just swirls into this instant attraction and hookup. Honestly, at first I was like, okay, she's definitely into this, but probably playing it up for a place to stay, and yeah, she does just blatantly ask to stay the next morning, but it leads to a gritty sex, steroid, and training montage as the two become more and more obsessed, the love addiction growing with the steroid addiction, complete with jealousy from Daisy and some toe sucking. Under over on that being the moment the dude pulled his knob out. Though I will say this is when she manages to quit smoking, basically replacing one addiction for another. But eventually the more serious conversations have to start. Lou is not jazzed that Jackie's working for her dad, but won't go into full detail for why he's bad news, presumably because of her own trauma and involvement she may have had with it. Like, we're clearly shown these stylized flashbacks that he's a murderer. And as much as Jackie wants Lou to come to Vegas with her and then just ride off into the sunset forever, she won't leave Beth. Bringing us to the super awkward dinner scene where Jena has clearly been freshly abused and Jackie's there who JJ slept with and no one knows except them.
If you touch her one more time, it'll be the last fucking thing you do.
Why don't you look closer at your new girlfriend then, huh? Instead of interfering in shit you don't know about. She wanted that job so f***ing bad. Not as bad as she wanted a free f***ing gym membership, huh?
Sadly, this leads to Lou having the same thought that I did earlier, which I would have had without knowing she'd slept with JJ, that Jackie may have just hooked up with her to shack up and get free gym access. Which she pushes back on and calls out Lou for being so closed off about aspects of her life, but it's all because of her dad and the abuse against her sister.
I want to do really bad. I want to fucking kill him.
Don't worry though, guys, this is a sapphic relationship. They'll have a massive fight and immediately follow it up with their first I love yous.
I love you.
Me too.
There we go. And yeah, everything about this is just sparking off. Like anytime your emotions run that high and change some status quo of your life, you're bound to get swept up in it all. But following that very awkward dinner, JJ puts Beth in the hospital and the cops still won't do a damn thing, saying there's no evidence even though his knuckles are bloodied raw. I was really confused as to why the cops wouldn't or hadn't done anything up to this point and assumed that maybe her dad had his own way of dealing with it that hadn't worked yet, because you know, you can't really beat the abuse out of an abuser, it'll just make them more abusive to try to regain the control they feel they lost. But I thought, hey, maybe this is the final straw.
You'll regret this.
That's what you said last time.
I'd like to respect her wishes.
I just can't imagine a father being able to look at his daughter in that state and not immediately torture and kill the man who did it, especially if that's already part of his daily activities for work. Like, I don't know what to tell you, Lou, that guy kind of cheated me out of $1,000, so he had to die. This guy almost killed my daughter, but I think he deserves another chance. And framing it around respecting her wishes is just so shit. Like, yeah, she'll be upset if he's gone or dead because she's in an abusive relationship and blames herself for his actions. She loves him, but you know, sometimes things go too far and you need to forcibly help people, and we are far past that one, girl. And this whole conversation sets Jackie on edge. She can see how upset Lou is, and I need to start mentioning the sound design here because it is also so good as Jackie gets bigger from the steroids and like the anger, you literally hear the pops and the veins expanding. So she has to take matters into her own hands and goes what some might say a bit too far in a fit of rage. Bashes his head off the coffee table so hard that one half of his jaw disconnects from his head like he's a South Park Canadian. It's kind of a funny thing where him being killed for what he'd done would not be the most wild expectation in this kind of movie, but the way it was done and the fact that it was done by someone who's been involved in this situation for but a few days, wild. And I love Stewart's reaction to walking in on this. I think it's the appropriate amount of just jarred what the fuck. But then she like goes back for a second closer look as if it's not terribly obvious that half of his face is ripped off. But I guess that's because they hadn't actually finished the final look on Franco, so at this point she's just kind of like looking at Dave on the ground. Such a great reaction though.
Baby, what the fuck happened? I made it right.
And Lou just gets right to dealing with it. She may not do what her dad does now, but she certainly knows where he hides the bodies. I also just have to comment on her reaction to seeing the cigarettes in his pocket as she's closing them up in the car.
Nope.
It's so fucking good, and it's so funny, but like really, wow, now this is when you're gonna decide to have some conviction? Power of a good woman, the strength to quit, even if it leads to having to hide a body. And the only thing that runs the risk of ruining these plans is fucking Daisy.
Roll your window down.
Literally has to promise to hang out with her to get her to back off, but like, girl, you can tell if somebody's jerking their head away from you. Like, come on, girl. Come on, girl. Anyway, she obviously realizes that Jackie's the one driving Lou's truck. I feel like she's about to be truffling with things that ought not be truffled with. But they finally get to the desert and this canyon crater thing to dump the body and car, and that honestly could have been it. No one would have found it. Daisy might not have said anything, but Lou decides to set it on fire so it ends up being found by authorities who can't ignore all the other bodies that have been dumped down there, assuming that her dad would go down for the ones he was responsible for and JJ's. But really all it does is run the risk of both of them getting arrested, and obviously her dad's gonna go right to her when they find the body. She's the one who wanted him dead.
I wasn't thinking about jail.
She wouldn't want him dead either.
But it could still work. All they need to do now is lay low. Problem being, tomorrow's the competition in Vegas. And all Jackie had to do was wait for Lou to come back from cleaning up all the blood to figure it out. Also got a comment, this feels very Joan Jett for her with the red jumpsuit. Felt like a little Runaways throwback, intentional or not. But when she gets back home, Jackie's already gone. Literally broke the window in the door to get out of the house because she doesn't do idle well, and she just loads herself up on all the steroids in the house, just crunching and popping of muscles, and then comes stumbling back in after the gym in a full euphoria bender, sprinkled in with all the aggression, agitation, and mania that comes from abusing them. She then immediately starts getting violent with Lou, makes her bleed before hitching a ride to Vegas, where she wakes up in a total steroid hangover. And she decides that the answer is more steroids. So yeah, competition doesn't go so great. She hallucinates encouragement from Lou, which is nice. She is crushing it for a bit, but then she has this drug-induced trauma hallucination and pukes on the stage, followed up by beating the shit out of this other contestant who was laughing at her. A lot of these moments reminded me of Magazine Dreams, which hasn't been released for obvious reasons, but I feel like this movie actually explored to the fullest extent what it wanted to do with that violent aspect of things. So now she's in jail.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, that was a fun key choice. Now, as expected, the dad obviously thinks that Lou is responsible for JJ and setting the car on fire.
An innocent act of stupidity. Or maybe there's something you won't tell me.
This is the scene I really love how it's shot, where they have the Coke machine illuminating them in red so it matches those flashbacks she has. She's so good. But if all that wasn't enough to be dealing with, she still owes Daisy some attention, who has now waited outside her home for 2 days. Brings her a condolence card and everything.
That's nice. I quit.
Oh my gosh. Lulu, do you want me to stop?
Oh no, she is down bad. Girl, there is something else you should be quitting though. But also, she is way more aware than she lets on.
What was she doing driving your truck? That big girl.
Pointing out that it was weird that Lou was driving JJ's car the night he went missing and not her own truck, and now JJ's dead. Basically like, give me her affection or the cops might find this super interesting. It's also very weird that she just drinks milk, like it's a little bit late for the strong teeth. That was mean. And shit is about to get so much fucking worse. Jackie makes her one call to Lou and Daisy answers.
Stay away from her. She doesn't want you anymore.
Oh no, that's just gonna do all sorts of bad to Jackie's Roid-addled mind. Also gotta point out that I really like how they do this focus in on Stewart's like disgusted face for what she feels like she's had to do to protect Jackie. But Jackie calls the only other person she can think to get her out of this Lou's dad, who plans to use her to shut all this shit down because she knows she's involved and sends her to kill Daisy. That poor sad girl who's gonna lie and tell the cops that she saw Jackie in JJ's car, and Lou just has to keep working through things with her to defuse.
I'm scared, Daisy.
But the second she opens the door to grab Daisy's things, blood splat. Jackie shoots her.
Baby, I'm not. Huh?
I love that the instant reaction isn't, holy shit, you just shot someone. It's, baby, holy shit, no, I wasn't actually with her. I was doing it to protect you. It's so fucking good.
Huh?
That is my favorite reaction of this movie. It is just so authentic. I don't think anybody other than Kristen Stewart could have pulled that off and delivered it that way. The series of confusing events she's had to face in this movie, golden. Jackie almost decides to shoot Lou too, but can't bring herself to do it and stumbles off.
Holy fuck! Shit!
I love it. For those counting at home, we are now at body number 2 for carpet fruit roll-up dump. So after running away, Jackie calls her home and seems to be talking to a sibling that does love her, but then the mom gets on the call and calls her a monster, so it seems like there might have been an incident back in Oklahoma too.
Don't ever fall in love, okay? It hurts.
Me to my journal. But monster is a great word choice to use here. It especially matches the physical transformation, and it'll feel more relevant later. And of course, if things weren't bad enough for Lou, as she's dealing with Daisy, the FBI show up. No kitty, but also great job slowing the spread. So apparently JJ had actually become an informant for the FBI, so they are extra upset that he's dead. They obviously assume it was Lou Sr. catching on and killing him like he has with so many informants in the past, potentially even her own mother, who had called the police to make a report apparently. But I must point out that the other officer is reading this copy of Macho Sluts, which I found out is a real book of erotic short stories. Fun fact.
I'm not involved in any of this shit.
But you were.
Peeling back that layer that she didn't just watch her dad kill people and commit crimes, he had her killing too. So we're back to smoking.
Save it for an emergency.
Damn, even from beyond the grave, Daisy's helping. Which is when Daddy Dearest calls with his latest plans. He had got Jackie to kill Daisy to remove her as a witness, and now they can set Jackie up for a double homicide, and Lou can't do anything about it because he knows Daisy's body is in her apartment.
No one can connect me to bones.
I can.
Are you threatening me?
Yep.
That was really stupid, honey.
So now there's a hit on her too. Daddy Dear is not so dear, which you probably could have anticipated. He sends a literal cop to kill her. Like, thankfully he failed.
He sent you to kill me?
Fuck you, you rat!
I do love how shocked she is about that fact though. Though this moment is a significant shift. The whole time Jackie's been the one who can't stay idle, and Lou's done nothing but her whole life.
I need you to sit tight and do absolutely nothing. I know you can manage that.
This is the moment where Lou changes. She calls the FBI and runs to save Jackie, where Beth is very pissed that she was involved in JJ's death, completely hates her, which extra sucks because Lou feels like she's given up her life to protect Beth.
Oh, you're a moron.
Then actually hurts her to get Jackie's location.
Where is she? Fucking monster in the courthouse. Love you, sis!
It is so damn funny, but I also love that she called Lou a monster. Like, her and Jackie are making the pair. Jackie hasn't been filled in on all of this though, so she's just still pretty pissed.
Oh, what are you doing? Come on. I'm trying to...
Basically thinks that Lou's the one that set her up even though she's been on a non-stop crusade to save her from her own actions.
Chris, I am really trying to. I never met you!
So now we're kind of getting that swirled in hypocrisy in the name of love. All the things that Lou didn't want to be, she's slowly becoming for Jackie. She's lying and hurting people, making excuses for Jackie's abuse like Beth did for JJ.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with you.
The two have just become this unit of destruction, greed, and lust in the name of their love, the hyper-exaggerated version of what love can be and do. How it can feel like just as much of a drug as the steroids they were doing. It's exhilarating, exciting, makes you feel stronger, but it can lead to obsession and destruction just as fast. But it's time for the big showdown. Lou tries to figure out if he actually killed her mom, but he just maintains that she left because she hated both of them, but it seems like he probably did it.
You know, it's the ones you love the most who always disappoint you in the end.
And just as he's about to kill her, Jackie hulks out in magical realism, surreal glory, just full giant. Which was extra funny because it's kind of foreshadowed earlier in the movie because Lou had Gulliver's Travels on the TV. Just thought that was such a nice touch. Jackie wanted to be a god, so they kind of went literal with it. I also just love that this is a great counter to their earlier conversation about guns and muscle.
Anyone can feel strong hiding behind a piece of metal. I prefer to know my own strength.
A bit more powerful than a punch, huh?
This is the result of that confidence in her own strength and Lou's love kind of come to fruition. She's not actually turning into a Hulk, but she has become that strong. And he's just that weak. Take away the gun and he is nothing. It's also important to note that she hadn't done any steroids recently in this moment, so they were holding her back. They are not the cause of this like surreal realism transformation. And just as Lou's about to shoot him, she decides, no, I'm not gonna be like him. We'll leave him for the cops. And they run off together in the clouds. Which again, not literally, this is a surreal metaphor delivery that their love feels so exciting and exhilarating, that they feel so powerful that it's literally like they're gods in the sky, like they're so big and invincible. Before they ride off into the sunset, Lou no longer feeling responsible for Beth and not having the ties to her dad. When Daisy's body starts thumping around in the back, she wasn't dead! And here's Lou's final, at least in the bounds of this movie, horrible act for their love. She strangles Daisy and leaves her in a field, only stopping to grab some of her cigarettes. Bringing it back to a funny little thing Roseglass said, that this is basically a movie about someone trying and failing to quit smoking. The two are literally willing to do anything for the other, with this very fine line between obsession and love and all the violence that comes with that. Which again, further solidifies how similar she is to her father. Her not killing him almost seemed like she was going to commit to a different path, but it didn't last long. As Glass puts it, that kind of violence is cyclical, no matter how Lou justifies doing it. The end, with special attention to show that the cat is there and safe and happy, so less stressful than Argyle. So that is the movie. I know a lot of people took some issue where it kind of seemed like the movie was giving a pass to the abusive behavior, but I think that's just a matter of the movie not specifically condemning things verbally. I think the point of the movie was to show how that obsession can build and grow and how that violence is cyclical, and even if you think you've worked your way out of it, you haven't. So there was really no way to verbalize that in the movie because they don't have the ability to see that in themselves. Lou killing Daisy is what brings it back to that full circle. It doesn't end on the triumph of them high in the sky riding off into the sunset. It ends with that one last act of violence with the dark comedy punch. And while you can absolutely feel bad for Daisy, people pointing to her as this total victim isn't something I agree with either. She absolutely knew that she was manipulating Lou into a sexual relationship she didn't want. Definitely didn't deserve to die for it though. I'll clarify that real quick, but no one in this movie is without a flaw. So I can see why there's this aspect of it just being this badass revenge story as they ride off into what is hopefully a better life where they stop hurting others and themselves in the sake of love. I can totally see how this is empowering to people, giving them confidence to take power back without condoning every action that happens. People are complex and can understand that actions aren't good and still be hype on things and dig their destructive nature and love. Certainly less concerning than the good for her girlies rallying behind Amy Dunn. But that's pretty much gonna do it for this one. Let me know what you guys thought of the movie down below. I do think it works just as this solid thriller, but I also find that there's these fun layers underneath about violence and obsession and addiction that you can I could talk about this way longer probably, and maybe I'll come back. Maybe I'll add some more to this video. But let me know what you guys are thinking down below. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Thanks as always to my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. Make sure to check out Audible in the link down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like on the video if you're into that kind of thing. All my social medias are also listed down below. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I'm mostly okay, and we'll catch you all later.